well aware, and Conrad Ruiz have been with Causeway Consulting since the very beginning. I remember one evening that Conrad and my marketing friend sat down and we brainstormed to come up with the name of the organization. Conrad's all in when he's working with you, and he's very conscientious. And I can say that I'm successful today. And we were talking earlier about not being able to take on any more clients because I'm so busy. And great attribute to Conrad helped me set up the business, understand the business cycle, how to go about marketing it, how to do prospecting, networking, things that I'd never done because I always. And he's just been terrific at prodding me when appropriate, but more importantly, just being a source of wisdom. And I know that I worked with him closely when he had his college days, and now that he's out, he's coaching me. And that's been a real attribute, and probably one of the single most effective things to my success has been working with Wellaware.
Peter, we're honored to work with you. Obviously, it's been a delightful experience from day one. And I think it's funny because for our relationship in particular, like we first started getting connected back when I was, just a wee student. The way I was thinking at the time were, well, I guess what you would expect of a student still trying to figure out what they wanted to do. But I think one of my biggest appreciations for getting to connect with you around this world of business, time management, operations was really coming to terms with what does it mean to actually start a business? What are the different components of that? How do you even begin to categorize those different activities? And how do you manage the time around them? What do you put on your calendar necessarily? What are the expectations and definitions of done surrounding those expectations? What happens when you fall short of them? Be that in a sales operations task, a marketing operations task, a service delivery operations task, whether you're getting into some of the refiner details of what does it mean to sustain a healthy discovery process, to how do you quote people for your time, and what does it mean to account for the time outside of just the actual work itself, but the way you think about things and the way you go about setting your tone for quality assurance, given you always want to make a reasonable account of how you went about going about producing that quality.
Again, working with you helped me to better understand how I spend my time. And I don't mean that in just a tracking on the calendar, although it's incredibly helpful. I now, again, the individual's 9 to 5 in the workplace. I've always had an assistant managing my time, my calendar, my contacts, everything. So doing that myself now, good practice, right? But more importantly, managing out of that calendar and the way I track my time, track everything that I do. I spent several hours yesterday working for a client. I just book it all on the calendar now. It's much easier putting together the invoices at the end of the time. But getting back to your point about discovery, having just finished up a discovery process, I realized that I underbid it, spent many more hours. And I once told a supervisor, I said, I stew. I really do. I worry, I fret, I stew. And so consequently, I'm thinking about my clients all the time. And I rarely track that time if I'm driving or if I'm doing something else. But the word that you use quite frequently that I like is being mindful. And I realize that now being mindful, if I would put the bid out for this contract again, I probably would have upped my hours on discovery. And they had no problem with it. They totally understood why there needed to be a discovery process. Particularly picking up after another consultant, which I've never done before and would prefer not to do again.
The hard lessons of working from scratch than from somebody else's work. Right. Yeah.
Well, it's just, you know where they are or where they think they are, but you don't know where they really are.
Right. And that becomes a job in itself. And a lot of folks tend to feel a bit remiss about having invested into someone prior in order to reach a certain stage and then feeling like, okay, now that relationship or that dynamic or that particular output didn't work out for them exactly. It's not producing the results. Now they want to sort of piggyback off of that in a way that's meaningful to the next relationship that they think is going to help them solve the problem. Right. And while that's ideal, it isn't necessarily how it works. Sometimes things are translatable and there is value exchanged, but it does reasonably lengthen a person's discovery and a new relationship's discovery. And it may very well turn out to say, hey, I actually can't do some of this or something's missing, and suddenly the expectation from the client surrounding what the time and money investment is going to be is now higher, and that's not a fun feeling. So as a new relationship in particular, you want to recognize where you're trying to assuage that experience and say, hey, I know this feels like bad news and this feels like you're now expending more, but you're also setting an expectation that this is what was needed in the first place. This was the time that was reality. And so be it. We've updated expectations now. And I feel like we live in a more accurate world. And I think that's a conversation that everyone wants to find peace in.
I agree.
Yeah. Peter, what else would you like to share about working with us? And if you have any other final thoughts.
I mean, I pretty much covered it in the opening paragraph. I know enough about marketing to know that differentiation is the key to any business and what you do. And I think the differentiator, if you will, for Well Aware is the commitment, passionate commitment. It's not a transactional arrangement. When I work with you, you're all in. And I think that's really important when you select a partner, someone to help you, with your business and get your business started up. And I think that's a great tribute to Well Aware in your work.